So I was asked an interesting question about the role of the Speaker of the House as opposed to the President and what was going on, what was the difference. So let me read the question first, and then this will take a little bit longer than my normal answer because I try to do it in 3 minutes, but this takes some doing. Okay, here's the question. The US President used to be considered the most powerful leader. The world respected the President and the US. It now seems that the Speaker is the most powerful person slash leader. The President has lost respect and perceived power. Do you think that Johnson has damaged the reputation of the US? Okay, so there's multiple parts to that. And then there was a reply that said, maybe Gerdes needs to debunk the idea that the Speaker is anywhere near as powerful as President. For example, the Speaker has been unable to make the President budge even an inch on border control, an issue of paramount interest to the Speaker, even if no interest to the rest of the world. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. So let's start by talking about the powers of the President and the Speaker and compare it to what you would think about in another country. So the President is the most powerful man probably on the planet, especially in a time of war where his powers are supercharged as the executive. His job is to execute the legislation passed by Congress. That's his job. He's the head of the executive branch. He's also the commander in chief in a time of war. We're not in a time of war, so he doesn't have those superpowers. Okay, so what's going on with Johnson? How is Johnson? I keep hearing or reading in the comments that, well, how is one man able to hold up this whole thing? Well, because the Speaker of the House is kind of like, he's not like the Speaker of the House in the British Parliament. He's more like the Prime Minister, with the exception that he doesn't get to execute. He just gets to, as far as all the legislative functions of the Prime Minister, he's the pinnacle person, the point man for that. So he is the most important figure in Congress. That's between the House and the Senate. He's actually the third, like there's the President of the United States, and then the Vice President in line of succession. He's number two after the Vice President in the line of succession because he's just that powerful. So how can he stop this? Well, theoretically, he's at odds with his party because the majority party elects the speaker, and then once that majority party elects the speaker, you actually are in a situation where he controls the floor, he controls the debate, he decides what goes forward and what doesn't go forward, and that's what's going on with Ukraine. So I mean, and you need both the House and the Senate to be able to move on any particular thing. We divided government intentionally, and by dividing government and the powers, we make it very difficult. Some of you were like, well, you know, I'm really worried for the United States that Trump is going to come in and just become a dictator and take over. And it's very, very difficult. Seeing what you're seeing, how Biden is unable to push anything forward. And some of you are saying things like, well, we want him to just go around Congress. No, you don't want him to go around Congress. That would make him a dictator. You want him to be able to get Congress to move forward. And that's what we're trying to get done. So Trump won't be able to do any more than that, especially if there's divided government. And what I mean by divided government is if one house or the other, if any part of either the House, the Senate, or the president is controlled by the other party, you have divided government. And that's where we are right now. Okay, so back to Speaker Johnson. So the second part, maybe Gerdes needs to debunk the idea that Speaker is anywhere near as powerful as the president. He's really not. He's powerful in creating legislation. He has no power in executing it. For example, Speaker Johnson is unable to make the president budge even an inch on border control. Yeah, they need to negotiate and try to work something out, but if they can't work it out, both of them are stuck. So the speaker is not as powerful as the president. The president has more power, but the president has checks on his power, and he can only do what the Congress moves forward. And so Mike Johnson is the impediment right now, even though much of his own party doesn't want him to be the impediment that he is right now. Okay, I hope that helps you understand how our system in the United States works between the president and the Speaker of the House. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.